Hi everyone, Friendly Neighborhood Peter Draws here. Welcome to another Q&A video. I think this is number 6. First of all, I just want to thank all of you, of course, for being supporters here on Patreon. It means a lot to me, and it is very helpful. So thank you all. Hope you're doing well, and let's hop right into it. We've got some questions here. Here I'm going to look at the questions from posted below Q&A video number 5. Was I wearing the same shirt when I did that video? Maybe this is just my Q&A video. This is a shirt. It says I heart Belize. I got it when I went to Belize. Surprise, surprise. Anyways, let's start off here. It says, this is a question someone posted on the last video between the time I recorded the video and posted the new one. Anyways, it says, were there any comic strips that you particularly enjoyed growing up? I'm 31 now, and Calvin and Hobbes still makes me feel like a kid, pulling the funnies out of the Sunday paper. I definitely watched a lot of Calvin and Hobbes. Read a lot of Calvin and Hobbes. I never really, for some reason, remember Calvin and Hobbes being in the Sunday paper that much when I was growing up. But I definitely checked. I remember getting the very first Calvin and Hobbes book once for a birthday at one point, and I would always, every time we went to the library, public library, I would go to the section where I knew the Calvin and Hobbes books were, and I would get every single one of the ones that they had there. And, and every time I went there to the library to get all of those, I was bringing all the other ones back that I had checked out the previous time. I don't know how fair that was of me to have like a solid rotation, like a complete, stranglehold on the Calvin and Hobbes, market, or the whatever the heck was going on there. But yeah, definitely read a lot of Calvin and Hobbes when I was little. That's probably the one I read the most when I was little, growing up. Homunculoidicus says, do certain types of music influence your art in different ways? And if so, what are your most listened to genres for inspiration? I've always been curious about that. I don't think like certain types of music influence my drawing. Like, I don't think if I listen to this type of music, the art will turn out this way. Or if I listen to this type of music, the art is, gonna turn out this way. Like, I'm not a filter for music to lines. I mean, I am probably, but just as much as I am a filter for, everything else around me. Music isn't like more doesn't have some more potent effect on me than everything else in the world. Not that I've noticed anyway. If it does, I think it does have an effect on me. It must, just because I think everything has an effect on us. I don't think we go through the world and we see things and go unaffected by it. Even, think, at least a little bit. That said, I do like listening to music while I draw. I don't like, it probably says something about me that I don't like drawing in silence. But I listen to all sorts of different stuff. You can have some Spotify playlists and stuff. Gail says, I enjoyed that. Laughed out loud. I don't think this one's a question. I read that one already. Thank you. Thank you for this. Kind of like to ask off the top of your head an animal, a color, and a song. Well, when I thought of the song first, which was Three Blind Mice. So then I thought of the animal, which was a mouse, and then the color was gray. They all kind of went together. I don't know if they were supposed to be more random than that. Thank you. Um, Elijah says, "Is it lonely doing your line of work? And if so, how do you combat with that? Love the video." Um, I don't know. There's definitely a difference between being lonely and being alone. I do prefer, I think it's important to have some amount of solitude for art making, not too many distractions. Some people, I feel like some artists do take other approaches to things that, they like being around other artists, to collaborate and bounce ideas off each other all the time. I don't know. I don't really like that as much. I enjoy just like hunkering down. I like hunkering down. I wish I had like an art bunker to hunker in. It would be cool. Not to say that things don't get lonely, but just because I'm alone doesn't mean I'm lonely. I do get lonely sometimes. But sometimes it's my own fault because people want to hang out with me. They like say like, "Hey Peter, what you doing tonight?" And I was like working on stuff, and then it's like it's my own fault. It's complicated. I mean, if you're asking like because I don't work at a job, like where I have coworkers and stuff, that's definitely true, and it's definitely why I'm like I eat out all the time because I don't want to. I could make better, cheaper, more healthier food here in the apartment, but then I'm already here in the apartment by myself all the time, so I like going out and going to a restaurant, even if it's just a drive-through. I get out, roll the windows down, drive around a little, put some music on, get some sunshine in through the windows. I have a sunroof in my car, sunshine that way, and just get a little bit of human interaction, even if it's just a person in the drive-through window. Stretch my legs a little bit somewhere. Because if I just made all the, music, if I made all I don't know why I just said music. If I made all the food here in my apartment, made my own meals all the time, I could. Just don't really want to because I probably would get cabin fever. So it is kind of lonely in that regard, I guess. Not sure. It's definitely interesting. It's a weird situation. How do you feel about Bob Ross as a painter, as an entertainer, as a person, and as a fashion icon? I think he's most valuable as a cross. Out of all of those things, he's a great person, of course, but out of all those things, I think he's most valuable as what I like to think of as an art encourager, which is what I like to try to be a lot of the time. Which is, I don't think his art is all that great. He didn't make any revolutionary pieces of art ever in his life, but that's not what he was about. I don't think he was about making, encouraging people to do art to convince them to stop talking themselves out of art, to make it seem approachable so they could pick it up and start it now, today. They can do it. They don't have to keep making excuses. To get rid of as many of those excuses as possible and to make it fun and simple and enjoyable and easy. The joy of painting. It's not he trying to push aside those ideas that it's some laborious, complicated, hoity-toity thing that just artists do, Anyone can do it and enjoy it and have fun. It doesn't have to be something you have to go to art school to do or practice years and years and years to do and then to have fun doing and enjoy doing. That's what I think is very valuable about Bob Ross, and the fact that he's nice and soothing and calming and encouraging. Describe a perfect day, says Debbie. Anywhere, time I want to be, what do I eat, paint, see, do, feel. I don't know. I feel like the main thing I dislike about days is that in the back of my mind, like they're always gonna end and go on to the next day, and they're always just kind of slipping away, and it's kind of excruciating to me. So I'm always worrying about, like, am I using this day well? And that's some people use it as like a good motivational thing. Like, hey, use every day to its best. But really, if you think about it too much, it can really hang over your head and ruin your days. You start overthinking things. And I don't know. I didn't really answer your question at all, but I would wake up, feel well rested, would not wake up with a headache. I would sit down and there would be some breakfast. For breakfast, it would be at a table, and there would be some sunlight at the table, but I could sit in the sunlight but not get hot, and I could have some coffee. It would be the perfect temperature of coffee where I could drink it. And I'm not sure what I want for breakfast. I'm not really huge on breakfast foods most of the time. But maybe with coffee and maybe with breakfast. And I would like to read a book while I slowly ate breakfast sitting at the table out on maybe on a veranda or on a patio or something, overlooking something like an ocean or a valley. I could hear the breeze and the birds and stuff. This is too cliche. And I would read a book and eat my breakfast, whatever it is. I don't know. It really depends on the day. These days I usually eat very lunchy type things for breakfast, but I don't know. None of those are ideal days. And then after breakfast, I would, after breakfast, I would like to get down to work as soon as possible. Recording myself doing a drawing or something, maybe a big painting. I'd have a big area where I could do, I would have a warehouse tucked away in a mountainside, like that art bunker to hunker in. I'd have a huge painting up on a wall, 20 feet by 20 feet. I don't know what I'd be doing on it, but that's what would be so great about it. I'd have my scaffolding up there. I'd be up on, I'd go up on the scaffolding and I'd have some speakers in there, and I'd just crank those speakers up. And I'd still be sipping on some coffee maybe. And I would just be painting away for hours and hours. And eventually I might eat something later on in the day. Maybe a chicken sandwich. And then I'll take a shower and go to bed. Yeah, drink a lot of water too. Sounds good to me. Let's see here. The questions on this other post I made. It says, how do you translate the feeling of physical textures into lines in your art? How do you translate the feeling of physical textures into lines on your art, in your art? I don't know, it's something, I mean, I'm not, at this point it's kind of in the subconscious of the drawing, but some of the lines, especially the ones that you would like reach out and touch with your fingers, are the implied lines, like the lines between. Like if I wanted to draw a line that you would feel like a raised line, you draw one line here and one line there, and then another line. Oh, if it's a white piece of paper, a white line pops up in between those two. So you see if you're drawing with black ink, everything you draw with black ink is gonna want to sink back into the paper. It can make other stuff pop out by sinking other stuff back, and then you can. I don't know if that answers your question at all. I don't know. It definitely didn't happen instantly. I didn't have like an epiphany or a revelation that I thought suddenly was just able to draw things with satisfying textures, and I'm certainly not where I want to be. I just keep on working at it, experimenting with it, trying new combinations of lines to see what looks good and what looks satisfying to me. What are some opportunities you see in your future? I don't know. I don't see any opportunities, but I should probably try to be ready for when they pop up, huh? Just try to keep on doing me, try to keep on improving, getting things done, making things. And, things will happen. I don't know. Maybe they won't, maybe they will. Just keep on making things like I like doing, and hopefully things will work themselves out. I don't know what to do, except what I can do. Travis says, I've taken up Alien Script after watching your video about it. Have you tried to make any similar kinds of languages like it yourself in your drawing in your book video number 2? Excuse me, drawing in my book number 2 video from forever ago, you've got a bunch of blocky or symbol things that look like they could be some kind of language, but I just don't know, and the curiosity is best for me. I have, I used to write all sorts of things in Alien Script in a lot of my drawings, and then a lot of people are asking me about it. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I made a video saying how to write an Alien Script. And so then suddenly all these people could read and write all these little notes I was writing in my drawings, which I never really thought through all the way, and I never really intended people to be able to read those notes. So I had to switch it up, and I did create a whole new thing, not much more, but more complicated than Alien Script, called Egg Mode, which is probably, I don't know why I called it that, but that's probably what you mean by the blocky-ish thing. And that's not like a new language, it's more of a new alphabet, because Alien Script isn't a language, it's just an alphabet. But yeah, Egg Mode, and someone actually deciphered that. At one point, they sent me like some messages, pictures of messages they'd written out in Egg Mode. And then I was like, how did you decipher this? And they sent me like these screenshots of these crazy like Excel sheets they had done all these work on and stuff. It was very involved and complicated, and I was very, I'll say, impressed. Yeah. So then I went back and I revamped Egg Mode. I even went back and I might have made it slightly more complicated, because after that person deciphered it, I noted some weaknesses that made it easier to, decipher. But I don't write in that anymore. I don't really care to write hidden messages in my drawings. I do write in what might look like some hidden languages or unknown languages in my drawings, but they're mostly just scribbles. They're just meaningless scribbles that I enjoy. Hannah says, I'm assuming you don't have a pet because you live in an apartment, but do you want one? What kind of pet would it be? I have a dog, 2 cats, and a snake. I've had 2 cats before. But I had to get rid of them. Or one ran away, and one I gave away before I moved to an apartment. Not this one, but one in Florida. Before I began apartment life, which I've been doing for several years now. But I would get cats again one day. I just don't like indoor pets. It's like they knock everything over. They have to poop somewhere. They have fur. I don't know. If I live somewhere where I can have outdoor pets again, I wouldn't mind having cats. And maybe, I don't know, iffy about the dog. Probably not a dog. Maybe a dog. They say dog is man's best friend. Maybe they're right. I don't know. I like cats. I would get cats again if I lived somewhere, where I could have them outdoors. I saw someone brought up Alien Script, which made me think of a script you might be into. Have you ever heard of Naxai or Dongba script? It uses what are like crude doodles to communicate. These days, these are a very small group of people who use it. Here's a link. Oh yeah, check that out. Looks kind of like hieroglyphics to me or something. I guess that's, you can see that they're pictographs. Not really that interesting to me. I don't know, it's just not up my alley. But it is interesting. I mean, it is interesting, but it's not something I'm interested in learning or doing myself. It's definitely interesting. It is interesting. Thank you for showing me. Jupiter says, "Hey Peter, what gives?" It's just it's hard to say these days. Back when I was a teenager, I definitely knew. But these days, it's a little more uncertain. Everything. What was the best meal I've ever had? I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel bad not being able to answer those kind of questions, but I feel like if there was a best meal, it would have popped into my head the best meal I've ever had was the spaghetti and meatballs this one day in October. My mom whipped it up, and it was just like, Mom, this is the best meal I've ever had. That was it. I'll tell you when it gets one-upped. But no, nothing's popping into my head. If not art, including your videos and music curation, what do you think you would do? Are there any artists in your family? If not art. I mean, do you mean for a living? Because if I wasn't doing art for a living, I would probably still be doing art for a hobby. Because I was doing art for a hobby before I was doing it as a living. And then I realized I was somehow making enough from it to do it as a living, which I'm very thankful for. But no, there aren't any artists in my family. I mean, they're not bad at drawing. No one else in my family is bad at drawing. They're not the type of person to say, I can't even draw a stick figure. None of them are like that. But they don't sit around drawing all day either like I do. It's not like their passion. So I don't know what I'd be doing. Really, that's why I dropped out of college. I couldn't declare a major. I was lost and depressed. And I didn't know why I was there or what I was doing in life. I have no idea what I would be doing. The Red Dragon says, what do you think you're much better at than you actually are? What do you think you're much better at than you actually are? I feel like answering that question honestly would take some incredible degree of self-awareness that I might not be completely tapped into. Maybe sleeping. I think I'm a good sleeper, but then again, these days, I might not really be up to as good as I should be or could be. If I had to choose one thing. Is this just supposed to, prod and encourage some self-reflection? Or is it just a trick question? Have you ever taken any other drugs other than alcohol? If so, do you think this has had an impact on your creativity / inspiration, and in which way? I draw sober. Drawing inebriated has never really been inebriated by anything has never really been something I've found enjoyable or productive, or it's never seemed to work out very well for me. Drawing sober is very enjoyable for me, and it seems to work okay for me. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I know a lot of people like getting high and drawing or something, but it's not really my cup of tea. Would you be interested in being a part of an artist's support? Would you be interested in being part of an artist's support artists movement community online? What would you change in the art world, online, offline, if you had a chance to? Is the online gallery you talked about on Twitch a while ago still a thing in your mind? An artist support artist movement community online. Not really sure what you mean by that. This seems kind of vague. I'm not trying to discourage other artists. I love supporting other artists. Telling people, I don't know. What would you change in the art world, online, offline, if you had the chance to? Change it. One thing that bugs me in the art world is art competitions, but some people seem to really love them. I don't mind that people win art competitions. What bugs me more is that people lose art competitions. It's like people work hard. People pour so much of themselves into their art. And you might think that I've had a bad experience with art competition, but I've never actually entered an art competition. Maybe it's just because I'm afraid of losing, afraid of failure. But you work so hard, you pour all of yourself into a piece of art, and then you submit it, especially the juried art competitions, You submit it to these people, and then they tell you it's not good enough. They tell you this random other person's is better, and they're the winner, and you're the loser. Your art is loser art. This doesn't seem right to me, but our competitions are good, I guess, because the people who win, it's good exposure for them, I guess, but I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like the principle of it. This online gallery you talked about on Twitch a while ago still a thing in your mind? Are you talking about the 3D rendered museums to walk around in? It's a thing in my mind. Not anywhere else, though. Are you planning any upcoming trips or vacations? I'm not. Have you ever been to a theme park or amusement park? Do you enjoy that kind of activity? I recently saw a video of 2 people on a giant bungee type ride. It looked very scary, like you could have had a heart attack during the fall. They played around with the drone camera. I do like theme parks and amusement parks, and I enjoy them. I like roller coasters. I really enjoy roller coasters. I just don't like how long sometimes you have to wait in line at those kind of places. That part really ruins it for me. So if it's if you can somehow get there on a down day I have been there to certain theme parks on down days when there was hardly any lines. You could just some of them you could just stay on the roller coaster. There wasn't anyone in line. You ride the roller coaster, come back around. There was no one there, so you're just I'm staying on. Go around again. That's a lot of fun, of course. But I don't there's some roller coasters, especially if it's a new roller coaster at the park. People wait hours to ride it. you know, for 20 seconds or something. Or probably like a minute or two, but still, that's crazy. I don't know if that doesn't seem worth it to me. It's like your legs get tired. You're just so exhausted for riding these little roller coasters for a minute and a half at a time. I don't like the line waiting. And then some people get these, you know, they pay extra for the quick pass. And that one day I went and there were more people in the quick pass lines than the regular lines. I've never been on a bungee jump though. I want to go skydiving someday. I will go skydiving. I have not played around with the drone camera. I know one person with a drone camera and they're very protective of it. They won't let anyone else touch it or fly it or anything. They're like the gimbal. It's so fragile and specially calibrated. Don't even touch it. There's a gimbal on there. Much less fly it. Are you kidding me? When you were growing up, did you know any artists or any of your family artistic? I mean, my mom, you know, my mom and dad sometimes would like draw stuff with me, and they encouraged my artistic side. That's for sure. I never I never thought I was going to be an artist. Like, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would never say artist. You know, I said all sorts of other random stuff. But I you know, would love to draw you what I was going to be. That would be fine with me. I just never thought about, I don't know, I never approached it from that angle. And it was never like a thing that I wanted to be. But no, I never like knew, I don't know if I knew any artists. Maybe I did, but not closely in my life. But I wouldn't say my parents, my sister, I wouldn't say they're terrible artists. They can hold their own when it comes to a drawing. But yeah. Anyways, that's all of it for today. Thank you for the questions, everybody. You're all wonderful. I appreciate it so much. Make sure, if you have any other questions, you post them below this video, down here in the comments of this Patreon post. And I'll make another one of these next month. But I'll post another reminder post, too, before I make the next one. Anyways, hope you're all doing well. And thank you so much. See you around.